This is the Paint the Town Red podcast. I am your host, Chance Bowen, and today we've got a doozy for you. We're going to be talking about the great civil war that's going on amongst the right, updates on the Israel-Iran conflict, of course, and how it will affect the stock market. So make sure you stay along to the end so you can be informed on the market. Trump recently shares a tweet, again attacking Thomas Massie. Is he attacking his own base? Well, many people on the right believe he is, and it's not good news for our party as a whole. MAGA, for me, is about America first, not America whenever AIPAC says it's okay. MAGA is about ripping the mask off the permanent political class, the billionaires with dual passports, one in DC, one in Tel Aviv, and say, hey, you don't get to own both our foreign policy and our elections. MAGA knows that when 95% of Congress suddenly gets along only when it's time to write checks to foreign nations, that's not democracy, that's lobbying with a yarmulke on. We don't just want to own the libs. We want to evict the globalists, audit the Fed, and ban the lobbyists from buying senators. To me, defending this globalist oligarchy tells me some don't want to drain the swamp. They just want a new alligator wearing a Trump tie. They don't question foreign aid. They don't question mass surveillance like Palantir. And they don't care about half of the GOP getting their talking points from AIPAC. Here's how to spot the difference between each side of the Republican Party right now. One side says, end foreign wars and entanglements. Bring our troops home. It's time to put America first. They say, the Fed is a scam. And they also say, BlackRock influences 90% of the media. The other side will say things like this. We support Israel's right to defend itself. They also say, who cares about RFK assassinations or who Epstein files? That's all conspiracy talk. And then my favorite one, we love Fox News, and I love the MyPillow guy. Here's the truth, the real truth about MAGA. It is about sovereignty. That means freedom from foreign influence, corporate capture, and alphabet agencies that think your grandma is a domestic terrorist for liking a Facebook meme. This isn't about left or right. It's about the American people versus the permanent regime. And if you're scared to say who's behind the regime because they might cancel you, shadow ban you, or call you anti-Semitic, well, maybe you're not really MAGA after all. Okay, so now we've got through that, I want to move on to what you need to know about the Iran conflict. Iran retaliates on an American base. At this moment, there have been 0 American fatalities. Iran launched ballistic missiles at Air Force in Qatar. The operation's name is Operation Glad Tidings, which I don't understand. Oh, of victory. And fired dozens of missiles / drones at U.S. and Israel targets. There's no deaths. Kind of very. I mean, even I've seen Fox News say today it's very. Just kind of sucked, not very good. So obviously, we're seeing. I've seen this thing that Iran's economy is like the same size as Kern County's or like Pennsylvania's. Wow, right? So it's no wonder why we're seeing such a. Not going to really see an retaliation. They ain't got it. They don't have the cards. Iran shuts down shipments through the Hormuz Strait, which will affect stock markets and global markets on more on that later. So the thing that they do have is they do have access to the Hormuz Strait, which they have 80 million people and they have access to where 20% of our oil goes through, or 20% of the world's oil. So that gives them kind of a little bit of, that would suck if they decide to shut it down. Let's see what Israel's up to. Israel struck Irvin prison and other Tehran government sites, expanding operations to dismantle Iranian regime. They're also bombing the same place that we just bombed with bunker busters. So I guess they must have gotten word that maybe the bunker busters didn't get all the uranium. So I've heard things that they actually got the uranium now. There's not even uranium there. I've heard a multitude of things, so it'll just take time for us to kind of, everyone to flesh the truth out, and we'll figure it out soon. Be on the lookout. Iran has threatened Americans' homeland by activating sleeper cells that could potentially do some damage over here. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton said Americans are right to be worried. Well, that's not good. Okay, now quickly what you need to know about the stock market. First up, why does Iran even matter to the global economy? Simply put, oil. Iran sits on some of the world's largest oil reserves, and it sits right next to the Strait of Hormuz, a little choke point through which 20% of the world's oil supply flows. If Iran threatens to close or disrupt that route, boom, oil prices spike. And when oil prices spike, you better believe the market catches a fever. Remember, what happened in 2019 when tensions rose? Crude prices jumped nearly 10% in a week. Multiply that by a full-scale conflict, you're looking at a shock wave. Airlines and travel will see higher fuel prices, and that may kill profit margins. Don't be shocked if Delta or United stocks start dipping. Shipping and logistics. Same story goes for this. Global transport costs shoot up, supply chains get tight, and investors start selling. Consumer goods. Inflation fears hit hard. If fuel goes up, everything else eventually costs more. That cuts consumer spending. Walmart, Target, they're going to feel it too. And then, of course, tech. Not because oil has anything to do with tech, but just because when there's uncertainty in the market, since tech is new, they tend to start bleeding just as much because they don't like volatility. So you might see some stagnant prices there. But hey, for every winner, there has to be a loser, and these are the sectors that might do well. Of course, you have the defense stocks like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop, Grumman, war, and war rumors are like steroids for these companies. So sad but true. So maybe you can get in on them. I don't know. Oil and energy, Chevron, ExxonMobil, and even some smaller scale players will see surges as oil prices climb. Gold and safe haven assets. When the world panics, it runs to gold. So gold ETFs, commodities, and even treasury bonds might pop while the S&P slips. Worst case scenario, a full-blown regional war involving Iran, Israel, and possibly the US. That could cause short-term crash, especially if oil hits $120 plus per barrel. Inflation goes up, the Fed will pause interest rates, and recession fears will return. Best case scenario, tensions cool off, maybe we get a ceasefire, oil stabilizes, and the markets recover. Could even be a temporary buying opportunity if you're brave enough to ride the dip. That is all for today. This is the Paint the Town Red podcast, and we hope you have a great weekend.